All right, let's switch gears a minute and talk about Rich Rod, man. Uh, what are your thoughts
Oh,
on the return of Rich Rod? I kind of see this as Wren Baker looking at this as we've got to do something to spark interest. Number one, we got to sell tickets. We got to start winning again because of what we just talked about, the future of college sports. This is a crucial time. This might be the most important football coaching hire in West Virginia history.
well, you're talking to one of the more controversial guys talking about West Virginia sports on YouTube
Yeah.
in myself back December because that I did not receive that news well. That just went
Okay.
back in headspace of December 2nd, 2007, and how much like that hurt me, and I know hurt a lot of Mountaineer fans when he,
Oh, it hurt me too. Yeah.
I don't forget that day. And how the rest of that next week ended up playing out. And where I guess I will ultimately say, I think he ingratiated himself very, very well back to the fans. Obviously, having Pat McAfee's sign of approval, that entire show, all of that went extremely well. And I'm a forgiving guy.
Yep.
So I am totally willing to give him at this point in time this second chance to go out there and make things right, as he said at that point in time. And I got to give him and this entire staff so much credit. They have been working their tails off for 6 straight months. 74 newcomers to this fall 25 roster. They've already had 22 commits for the 26 roster. He is completely purging out the trust the climb movement and bringing back, trying to
The hard edge
reestablish what
movement.
exactly the hard edge mentality, earned success model. And I think actually perfect timing for it, given what the transfer portal window was there to purge some of the players, a lot of them that he didn't think were cut out for what he was looking for, didn't fit it, and to try and siphon them out to bring in the players that he and his, I mean, I thought hearing what he said, I forget on which show it was, that he had all of the staff recruit the entire transfer or evaluate the entire transfer portal. That's thousands of different players. You know how many hours that is watching huddle
Well,
tape and stuff like that, or
yeah.
other game day tape. So they are trying to, replace those play. I would love to still have Josiah Trotter on this year's roster. I would
Absolutely.
love to have Tomas Remack. I would love to still have Hudson Clement and C.J. Donaldson.
Traylon Ray.
But West Virginia's found some nice pieces in those spots. And that is where, if you believe in that hard edge movement, and we are going to be more physical than every opponent that we play, I'm willing to buy into that. And I can kind of hear that all through spring practice. And it might be rough around the edges, in August and then into September's games. It's all going to come down to the backyard brawl. That's where we're really going to tell whether there's some sort of a corner being turned, and how good can this team be? Because right now, I don't know what to think with all of these newcomers at all of these different positions.
Yeah, it's impossible to know, and that's why so many outside prognosticators are picking West Virginia to finish so low in the league because of all the unknowns. I mean, anytime you have that many unknowns, I mean, if I'm doing a prediction and I
Yeah.
see a team's got 50 transfers, I'm not going to pick them to finish high in the league because it goes outside the norm. But the problem is, though, this is kind of new.
Mm-hmm.
And there's only been really 2 or 3 recent examples of guys doing that. You've got the Dion example, which
Yep.
didn't work well in year 1. No, it worked okay in year 2, but he had arguably one of
Transcendent
the
players. Yeah.
yes, and Shador's an NFL talent too. Shador had probably second round NFL talent, if not first round talent. It was
Yep.
what was up here that caused him to drop.
You
And then
got
you
it.
got Travis Hunter, who is a transcendent player, right? He's not going to. So how will he do moving forward without those guys? That's a huge question.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've the other example, Kurt Cignetti at Indiana. Now he didn't bring in quite as many as Rich Rod though. He had like 30 ish. Rich Rod's got 50, so still a big difference. But Cignetti had a high number of or of group of 5 level players too, like Rich Rod does. So I think there are some similarities there.
Yep.
But I just think it comes down to Rich Rod's mentality, man. He embodies what it means, the hard work, chip on your shoulder, punching above your weight class, going that extra mile, outworking everybody, and then his offensive philosophy is so different than most. I mean, he's an offensive genius, pretty much.
Yeah.
Those are the things to me that are going to be could be the game changers. It's not going to be because they go out and get 5-star guys, because West Virginia's never going to get a bunch of 5-star guys. They're going to have to get the guys who are better than people think, maybe even guys who need to play different positions, and guys who are just willing to outwork you. And but the high risk, high reward thing, why I've got that on the screen as a banner, is because I think this is either going to blow up in Wren Baker and West Virginia's face, bringing Rich Rod back, because it's a huge risk. Because if it doesn't work out, I think fans are going to be slower to or quicker to bail on Rich Rod than they would of somebody like Neil Brown, who was the nice guy, right? Fans did not want to bail on Neil Brown because he was such a nice guy and he was doing everything else right. You bring back this guy who already left you high and dry once, and if he comes back and you're already on somebody like you who was already on the fence about to move anyway, and he don't win, are you going to be on the bandwagon very long if he doesn't win?
Well, it's this logo that I'm loyal to first and foremost. It's not to one sole player. I totally agree with everything you just said, by the way, about the differences in, what Colorado did to Indiana did. And then there's some examples, like let's take our most hated rival, Pitt, 3-9. And then they come in this past year. Yeah, they get Eli Holstein, which was a complete game changer for them. But we didn't know what to make of that team with so much roster change too. But they didn't do it so much. They just made a new offensive coordinator hire, got a running back from Western Carolina, stuff like that. So if you identify up and coming caliber guys, and I think Rodriguez has done so in some of his other coaching position hires, namely Zach Alley, I think that that's what's going to make a huge difference for this entire team. I mean, West Virginia was under-coached in quantity last year. Remember, it was Shadon Brown coaching both the safeties and the cornerbacks. Jordan Leslie kind of left out on an island. Is he going to coach from the box? Is he going to coach out onto the field? And we know, the difference in philosophies if you've listened to the interviews between Alley and Leslie. So that was just, should have either cut bait with him or he needed to change completely from 2023 to 2024 in his philosophy, being more blitz heavy, stuff like that. Yeah. But then going back to Rodriguez, yes, I think there was at the time of the hire, very polarizing moment in the fans again, I've seen some WVU Facebook is sometimes a dark place to go to.
It is, yes.
With comments they're completely off the wall, but there were a lot of fans like myself who were still not very happy with that. Mm-hmm. But again, that's all going to change if he starts to win. It's starting it off with September 13th, and then can get this. I thought it was very bold when he said earlier this spring that, hey, if West Virginia is not in contention for a Big 12 conference championship, which West Virginia has only in the month of November, which how many times has West Virginia done that in the last 13 years in the Big 12?
Not very many.
Few times. Oh my goodness. You never heard that kind of bold declaration out of Neil Brown, or when he did, it was unfulfilled promises. Jarrett Deggy is our most improved player from 2020 to 2021, or finally, thankfully he did that in 2023. But I mean, some things broke West Virginia's way really well in 2023 with the schedule. And then, just some things, a hurricane hitting during the Texas Tech game that you pull out on the very last play when your starting quarterback, Garrett Green, gets hurt. So just some things broke. But now the same thing's going to have to happen for Rodriguez, is he's got to identify his best 22. Best on offense, best on defense, and fill that out with the depth chart. And thankfully, West Virginia is not starting off this season with a Power 5 opponent. They're going to get to kind of have a little bit of a warm-up game. Ohio had a pretty good season last year, but lost their head coach. Some depth was depleted. So I feel like in both of those games, you're going to feel pretty confident. And Vegas is going to have them favored in those contests. So then once it's finally backyard brawl time, that we're going to get to know what they're made of. And right now, I don't think that there was such a drop off in talent because of what we saw last year out of West Virginia football, just like sloppy play, and just some injuries in certain positions, or guys just kind of dogging it. So if that attitude mentality can flip, and that's what Rodriguez has said, if you don't compete, you won't play. And they can have some depth at different positions to change those guys out as necessarily
Yep.
needed to schematically. And I think that's going to yield positive results.
Dogging it will not be allowed under
Period.
Rich Rodriguez. I can almost guarantee you that.
Right.
And we did see it occasionally under the Neil Brown regime. So
Yes.
I'm not going to name names, but I did witness it a few times, and and those players didn't get benched. They were brought right back in there the next play in a lot of cases,
Mm-hmm.
or they might have taken them out and put them back in. And of course, I know the argument would be, well, we didn't have enough depth. Well, whose fault is that?
Exactly. And I also just think that the media is not understanding, or underrating Nico Marchiol as a quarterback.
You think they are there or not?
They are underrating him. So
Okay.
I mean, like
I think the verdict's still out, but I do agree to a point.
There's 7 really good quarterbacks out there, and I don't need to necessarily list them. But then I think right around 7 or 8 to where he's being pegged like 15th or 16th, I think he can compete with any of those other different quarterbacks. Now, does he fit Rodriguez's system entirely? He's not Pat White. That's not the kind of style of play that he's going to fit the mold. But neither was Jacksonville State starting quarterback last year. And you saw the numbers that he put up. You
over
heard
1,000 yards rushing. Yep.
You heard Rodriguez even say that, like, man, we didn't think he could run, say, a 4.6 in practice or something, get him on the field on game time, and he makes plays. And every single time I've watched Nico Marchiol play, he's made plays. Going back to 2022 against Oklahoma State.
Even when he wasn't playing his best game from passing the ball, he would make plays with his legs.
Exactly. He wins. He wins ultimately at the end of the day. He's done so even going back to his high school days. I didn't watch the YouTube video to get the exact numbers of. I'm sure you've seen that video of his high school team's comeback. How many points down and like what was it like? 2
minutes? 17
minutes?
points or something in a minute and a half or something crazy. Yeah,
right. He was
whatever it was. And again, I don't remember. I'm going off memory, but yeah.
So I just think that in game management of quarterbacks, was good and bad, more so bad than good during the Neil Brown era. And I think there were some ripe opportunities for Marchiol to get more playing experience to the point where he's a 4th-year quarterback. And you have fans like, many out there who are saying, they don't know necessarily what they have in him. But I mean, man, he's probably, a 21, 22-year-old kid. He's been developing in West Virginia's system now for his 4th season. He's ready to rock and roll. And in a wide receiver position, I like what West Virginia's brought in Cam Vaughn as a pass catcher. I don't think we'll see a huge drop off from Hudson Clement to him. At the 2nd and 3rd strings, I'm still very curious to see. But man, how many wide receiver transfers has West Virginia received? And now you've built a really good running back stable behind him that they're still going to run the ball a tremendous amount, and he will run you over. So give him the opportunity, and let's see what he can do. And then I like what I've seen, especially at 2023 tape of Texas A&M against LSU and what Jalen Henderson was able to do against a Jaden Daniels-led LSU team. So it's not like you're going to oh man, who's that quarterback in 2017 when Will Grier broke his finger against
it was Jack Allison, maybe?
It'll come to me. Chris Chugginoff. It's not like you're going to Chris Chugginoff as your backup and you're expecting your defense to score points for you on turnovers for touchdowns. So I like where they're at quarterback room. It's this offensive line, man, that I'm just like.
They had such confidence in him, they went to a Wildcat offense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wasn't that the year they went to the Wildcat in the bowl game?
Yeah, it was like Kennedy McCoy or something was running the Wildcat for him. It's wild.
That poor quarterback, they're not even giving him a chance.
Yeah. So I've been a Nico guy since his signing day. I really can't wait to see what he does when he's presented that starting opportunity.
I'm definitely rooting for Nico because I love his loyalty to the program. He could have left multiple times. He didn't, especially during the coaching change.
Yep.
And I'm rooting for him. I do want him to win the job, but at the end of the day, I'm like you. I cheer for the logo more than the player. So if Jalen Henderson's the guy, Rich Rod has a great track record of the coaching and evaluating and developing quarterbacks. I'm going to trust his judgment on it. And I think either guy can win, to be honest with you. I like them both.
So I'm ready for fall camp.
I'm just ready for August 30th, man. I can't wait. This might be the first time I've ever been excited for an FCS team to come to Morgantown, man.
Yeah. And Robert Morris was better years prior. They've gone through some struggles, but reading my Lindy's preview magazine. I think they're picked third in their conference already to start out the season. So
Right.
I think behind Duquesne, and we know how West Virginia did against Duquesne just a couple of seasons ago. So
Right.
I think you'll see some high flying offense, and that'll make everybody happy there on
Yep.
their
Agreed.
season
Agreed.
opener.
Well, listen, Carson, man, I really appreciate you coming on the show. Let everybody
And
know one more time where to find you and your work.
sure. So on YouTube at Fox on West Virginia Mountaineer Sports, and if you want to follow me on Twitter X at Carson_Fox27, and I tell everybody every week, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog. I do this each and every week and have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. Yep. Everybody go check out his channel, please. Subscribe to it. Give him a thumbs up on the videos. Follow him on X. Do all that good stuff. So yeah, go check out his work. Find me on X as well. If you want to find me on X at Couz 206, at COUZ 206 for those listening. Carson's handle is at Carson_Fox27. Go check him out. Thank you all for tuning into the show. Till next time, Q Country Roads.